All right. Welcome. We're back again, once again, time and time again, my friends. And it is Friday, November the 11th, I do believe. Yes. And we're back once again just for a little end of the week recap on what's happening in the market, just where everything finished up and what are some possible moves for the beginning of the week next week. And that's all we do here, just every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a nice little discussion, hop on this live stream, chit chat, talk about all things trading here. So make sure you are subscribed, post notifications turned on, that way you get updated when I do go live. You'll get a little notification at the top of whatever device you use to watch YouTube, and it'll let you know that I'm live and you can go ahead and check in and kick it with your boy. But other than that, we're going to go ahead and get it started. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. You know, Fridays, I'm going to go ahead and let y'all get to the weekend. So we'll start off with XAU USD as we always do. We had previous structure resistance, support, broke, closed below, retested the area, and rejected to the downside. From there, we kind of found a area of resistance right in here. That was the next level on the monthly, and from there, we've had an extreme push to the upside, exploding above the previous structure resistance right here. Also support that major level, and we are starting to make moves to the upside. This is a very aggressive bullish candle, so more continuation could follow. If we look at the weekly time frame, on the weekly we've been speaking about this, or I've been speaking about this for a few weeks now. We came down in here, found not only one bottom, two bottoms, but three bottoms, creating a triple bottom, and from that also creating this pattern that we like to see over here at the FX Savant University, which is a pattern that completes 80 to 90% of the time if you know what you're looking for. So we've had a nice little W formation explode on the weekly. Once this impulse ends, we could expect some sort of retracement because the market can't go in one direction forever. If we drop down on the daily time frame, how can we attack this pair? Going into it, probably going to close like it is and then start the week off maybe a little more continuation, but a retracement back down to some previous structures could possibly set us up for a move to the upside, and that is on the daily time frame. So could be looking for that going into next week. Let's drop down to XAG USD on the monthly. Been speaking about this as well. Previous structure resistance, just keeping it real simple. Now turn support over in this area. We had one bottom, we had two bottoms, so creating a double bottom. You know, after that you would like to see the market move away, break above some of the neckline, which was the previous structure support right in here. It also acted as resistance once price came and retested it there, push it to the downside, and now we've exploded above that area where we could expect the market to come back and retrace to retest some of these logical zones in the market before a continuation to the upside for more movement to the upside. And that's just from the monthly. On the weekly, what do we have? A lot of these commodities are going to show some of the same things, but just keeping it short and sweet. We've had a nice move up, impulsing above some structure. It would be nice to go ahead and see that come back, retest some structure in this area for a continuation to the upside from a weekly perspective. Now, if we drop down to the daily, you can see right here in the daily, we were expecting the market to come back down into some of these areas, which was previous structure resistance, now turn support, and from there get an explosion to the upside, completing the most common pattern in the market. That's very simple here. That's what we like to use, is the most common pattern in the market because it happens over and over and over on multiple time frames. Just really simple. That's how the market moves in market structure. We're creating higher highs and higher lows, so that's what you expect the market to do. We had a nice one candle retracement, and then the next day we had the market dip down into previous structure once again and then explode to the upside, creating a higher high, completing the pattern. Now on XAG USD, it is very advanced, I would like to say. We just have simply right here some structure, because you could look at this and be confused on a lot of ways. We've had previous structure resistance broken to the upside, coming back for a retest. Going into next week, could possibly see the continuation to the upside from this area. So that's what I'll be looking for. Just a nice and easy setup for the market to go ahead and explode to the upside, just continuing the trend as it is. XPT USD monthly time frame. Previously we spoke about on the monthly that we've had several levels of structure that were being broken. It would be nice to see the market come back and retest some of those levels, and that's just from a monthly perspective. But as it is right now, we are bullish on this pair. We're breaking structure to the upside. If we look at the weekly time frame, you can see that on the weekly we wanted to see the market make moves to the upside, and that's exactly what we did. Come back and retest some of these areas. Now we didn't get a weekly retest, but the market did spike down into some of these previous structure resistance on this side, now turn support, explode to the upside, come back, retest previous structure resistance, now turn support and explode to the upside. If we drop down to the daily time frame, you can see that we are breaking and creating structure to the upside. So if we do get a nice and easy retracement going into next week, there could be a possibility that this market explodes to the upside along with the other commodities to see a higher high created. Dropping down to US oil on the monthly time frame, keeping it real simple and consistent. Previous structure resistance, exploded to the upside after it broke that level, came back, retest that level now as previous structure support. From there, you would like to see some sort of bounce or movement away from the area. If we look at the weekly time frame, last time we spoke about it, there was a very aggressive candle to the downside, but since then we've rejected, but we've also rejected the previous high. So it is not a high probability that the market will break this area until it does actually break this area. So going into this from a weekly standpoint, you would like to just see a little consolidation here and then the market finally break above. We also had this pattern here, which is holding up very nice. We had a left shoulder head, and then we had a right shoulder that did not break and close below the left shoulder, and from there you can expect a movement to the upside. If we drop down on the daily time frame, what can you notice here is that we came into these levels, rejected, creating a double top, move to the downside, created an M pattern, which is a pattern that completes 80 to 90% of the time. Move up, move down, move up, move down, break below the neckline, come back, retest the neckline, pattern complete. 80 to 90% of the time, that pattern completes itself. If you want to learn how to attack it and use that to your advantage, go ahead and click the link in the description. It will take you straight to my program where you can get all my strategies that I use to attack the market from a daily perspective. Almost every single day I can find an opportunity, especially with the watch list that we have. But on the daily here, we are starting to make moves. Now on oil, we have a level in the market right in here that we broke above, came back immediately into the zone, and now we're coming to retest the left shoulder. If we do not get that break above the left shoulder from this right shoulder, we can expect more continuation to the downside because the market is in what pattern? The most common pattern in the market. So we had to move up, retest previous structure, resistance, now turn support, create a higher high. From there, explode to the upside, and then we had an impulse back down, which puts us in an impulse back after an impulse to another impulse. After an impulse, you expect a retracement. You don't guess, we don't anticipate, we react over here. So we wait for the candles to close, which is a big thing that I see a lot of people not doing. But from here, if we start to see some consolidation or some sort of rejection from this zone, we will be in the most common pattern in the market, which is just simply a break below some structure, come back, retest that structure, and continue trend. So on the daily time frame, that could be an opportunity going into next week if it develops the way that it is now. Now we can slide down to Euro USD. Excuse me, Euro USD from a monthly time frame perspective. We spoke about it last time. We had price previous structure support that once retested should act as resistance for a continuation of the trend. Not until this level is broken and closed above can we expect this market to continue to climb higher. So we are in a very liquid area from a big bank's perspective. Now on the weekly time frame, we had this also identified and picked out that we did have the move down, move back up, move back down, explosion to the upside, W formation, come back, retest the neckline that was broken, and then we see the continuation to the upside. Once again, a pattern that completes 80 to 90% of the time. If you want to learn how to use that to your advantage, I'm telling you, click the link in the description. We have the explosion to the upside with this week. So we could see possible retracements coming from previous structure support that should act as resistance, which would be the continuation of the trend from a higher time frame perspective, but it would take time for that to develop. If we look at it just simply from a daily time frame perspective, you can see that just about everything that I told you last time we spoke about it has happened and developed. We had just the most common pattern in the market at one point. So we had the move up, We had to move down. Want to see it come back and retest previous structure resistance for a continuation. That failed, and we did have some consolidation in this area with a structure candle, which tells us that once price retests that area once again, there will be some sort of reaction. We did get a push to it. We didn't break and close above it yet. Started to retrace, then we finally broke and closed above it. Once we did, we came back to retest that structure candle area once again on the retracement, and then from there we had an explosion to the upside. So it is a little bit advanced. Everything's going to be perfect, but just simply put, we had a break above structure, come back, retest that structure as the opposite previous structure resistance over in here, now acting as support for a continuation to the upside. The market can't go in one direction forever, so we do need a retracement, especially if this market does want to actually continue to the upside, to go ahead and break some of these levels. But just simply from our monthly time frame perspective, we can expect some sort of retracement. Now we do have a nice and easy move to the downside, move up, little retracement, break above. It would be nice to see the market come back and retest some of these areas before we continue to the upside. But just from a daily time frame perspective, I will be looking for the retracement back down to some of these levels. So if you are in the program, you know that that could be a DP1 daily pattern strategy. We can go ahead and attack it with that going into next week. Now, if we drop down to GBP USD, a lot of these pairs are going to be showing the same things as they are correlated with the USD. If we look at it from a monthly time frame perspective, we do have previous structure support. Let me clean this up a little bit. We have previous structure support right here. That should act as resistance once retested. So we're expecting the market to come back into some of these areas to retest from a monthly time frame perspective, and that's exactly what happened. If we drop down to the weekly time frame, you can see that we were starting to make moves above some of these structure levels that we had identified. So we did have nice and easy, the most common pattern in the market, break below some structure, come back, retest that structure to continue trend. Then we started to shift and show the retracements from a monthly time frame perspective, and we started to make moves on the weekly, breaking and creating structure to the upside, creating higher highs and higher lows. If we drop down to the daily time frame to get a little more detail of what might be going on, last time we did speak about it, we said if the market did want to continue to the downside, it would need to break and close below some of these levels in order for us to look for a continuation to the downside. Everything is explained in the program as well on what we're looking for before we get into unfavorable or improbable trades that will likely hit our take profit. So everything is set with good expectations and good probabilities that the numbers and the limits and the orders that we put in the market will actually go to the intended numbers, places, take profits, and orders that we have in the market. And if not, then we really don't take the trade. So we needed to see a break below this area for us to have better probabilities of it continuing to the downside. It did not. From there, we did have some sort of break above some type of structure, which was this structure candle here. You would like to see the market come back, retest that, not break and close below it. And then from there, we were just in a nice and easy move to the upside, continuation, breaking higher highs and creating higher lows. Coming from the daily time frame perspective, though, we are right in this prime area where we could see a possible retracement. Not only a retracement just from simple market structure, but it is likely from the probability. So we've had a move to the downside, move up, move back down, move up. A pattern that completes 80 to 90% of the time is a W formation, as well as the M pattern. We would like to see that from a daily time frame perspective, just more or less short term. We could be waiting for that to another DP1 if you are in the program. And now let's slide down to AUD, USD, and once again, these mostly are correlated, so they're going to show either the same thing or the opposite things, whether they're positive or negatively correlated. And if we look at AUD, USD, we wanted to see the market actually make its way down to some of these areas before starting to create movements to the upside on a monthly time frame perspective. Now what we've gotten is a retracement on the monthly to come retest previous structure support that should now act as resistance, which is exactly how the market flows. That just takes a little bit of time from the monthly to develop. Now once again, the way that the candles are may not be exactly the way that the candles close at the end of the month. We still have about 2 weeks until that happens. If we look at from the weekly time frame, you can see that we just had a nice and easy move to the downside, and we're having a nice and easy move to the upside. We had some levels of structure right in this area that the market is now breaking and closing above in about 1 hour. So that could possibly trigger us into a retracement to come back and retest some of these levels. Could be the move, continuing trend on the monthly to come retest all the way down here, but that could take some time to develop. And once again, this is the weekly candle. If we drop down to the daily candle, how can we actually identify what we're looking for? Since we are moving up on the monthly and the weekly, as well as the daily, some retracement would be in order. We have prime real estate right in here. We have a move to the downside, move up, move back down, move up. A pattern that completes 80 to 90% of the time. This W formation you would like to see come back and retest some of these levels before we actually continue to the upside, if that's what the market wants to do. But either way, I will be looking to trade the retracement back down, and from there I can decide whether the market's going to make this move to the upside, or if that is the momentum they needed to go ahead and continue to the downside. So that is my play going into the next week, is some sort of retracement in this area, and I will make my decision from there on whether I will continue to look for moves to the downside or actually start to look for moves to the upside for the retracement to actually continue from the monthly time frame. USD CAD, we spoke about it several times as well. Explosion to the upside, extremely bullish, but you can't go in one direction forever. We need to see a retracement, and the retracement most likely will end up at where? Previous structure resistance. That should now act as support. So it's just a magnet to the price. It's nothing special. It's no sorcery. It's just the way that the market moves. So now we've got the explosion to the upside. We're getting the retracement now. It could be a possible move to the upside after the retracement ends from a monthly time frame perspective. On the weekly, we've pointed it out that we are below some of this structure, and the retracement back into this area could continue the move back down to go ahead and retest previous structure resistance, broken to the upside. Once retested one more time, should act as support. Just simple market structure. And if we drop down to the daily time frame, you can see that exactly what we wanted to see: a move to the downside, come back, retest this area, continue to the downside, possible more moves to the downside if we do actually get a retracement going into next week before the market comes down and retests some of these levels. But since the market is so close to some of these levels, might probably wait for it to get in here and then decide whether if the market's going to continue to the downside to create what could possibly be a very unorthodox left shoulder head, and then we could possibly see the right shoulder here to continue to the downside. But simply since we are so bullish on the monthly, it could be a possible area where we actually start to see the retracement end and the continuation to the upside from a monthly time frame perspective. Yes, I know we're looking at it on the daily, but this could be possible moves for just long-term trading. Nothing really too exciting to see here. From a daily time frame perspective, immediate perspective, we have the move up, move down, move back up, move back down, where we do have an M formation here. We could possibly see the market dip into this area, then come back to complete this pattern that completes 80 to 90% of the time. Now that could trigger more continuation to the downside, or that could be the momentum needed to go ahead and continue the monthly trend of creating higher highs and higher lows. So those are my plays going into next week. NZD USD from the monthly time frame, you can see that we did tap into some of these levels, previous structure support. Once retested again from the upside, coming from above the level, should act as support one more time. Now we are starting to see the bounce out of this area that is expected, and it's going to retest previous structure support. That should now act as resistance just from a monthly time frame perspective if the candle closes somewhat of like it is right now. So we're in this area, coming back for a retest, which is a perfect monthly TMCP if you are on the program, which could provide a very favorable risk to reward if it does play out. Now on the weekly, we have moves to the upside very aggressively, even though we had very aggressive moves to the downside as well. But once we made it to this downside level of support, we had a move to the upside, move back down, and then an explosion to the upside. So yes, we have patterns that complete 80 to 90% of the times, but there is a little caveat with them that you only get in the program. So There's a possibility that the market could come back and retest previous structure resistance, now turn support for a move to the upside, but that is quite a ways away. If it does do that, then more than likely there is a lot of bearish pressure, so the market could continue to the downside, but that is a little ways away, and we are looking at the weekly. Now, if we look at the daily, you can see that there are several levels of structure that have broken on the daily time frame. Then the market will actually continue the trend of the monthly, creating lower lows and lower highs, being a bearish market, which could possibly trigger some moves to the downside or some possible opportunities from TMCP1, maybe TMCP2s. There could possibly be even daily pattern 1 setups in this if the market does break below some of these daily levels. Now, we did break above, creating the most common pattern in the market over and over and over. Break above structure, come back, retest that area. As the opposite, continue to make higher highs. Had a little consolidation, but once broke above this level, came back to retest previous structure resistance, now turned support, breaking to the upside, creating higher highs. The most common pattern in the market. Now, we could come back and see that happen one more time, but that is probably the most highly probable thing that will happen, is that the market comes in here, plays around a little bit, shows the retracement. From there, I will be looking to trade this to the downside, and just probably from a short-term perspective. And then if I do go ahead and get that move to the downside, once it reaches some of these levels down here, previous structure, could make a decision whether the market wants to continue, because it will just be repeating the most common pattern in the market. But once again, there could be a possibility that we see the market break below some of these levels, and then from there start to create and break structure to the downside. But just simply put, I will be looking for the retracement and a way to go ahead and attack that with a very, very probable trading system. USD CHF from the monthly time frame. We were speaking about this for a while. One of my favorite pairs to display the most common pattern in the market from the monthly time frame. Break above structure, real simple and sweet. Come back, retest previous structure resistance, now turn support and create a higher high. Now, we've been rejected from these highs very aggressively on the monthly time frame, as you can see, and from my eyes, what I already see is a left shoulder that we broke above, and then we have immediate break back into the zone where we could possibly see a retracement to come retest this left shoulder, and then from there you could possibly see a move to the downside. And that's from a monthly time frame perspective, so it could take a while for that to develop. We still need to actually see this monthly candle close. If we drop down to the weekly, you can see that we are very aggressively pushing to the downside on the weekly time frame, so there could be a possibility of more bearishness to come. Now, if we look at it from a daily time frame perspective, we are impulsing to the downside. After an impulse, what are you expecting? You're expecting some sort of retracement. We could see a possible retracement. Where is the highest probability that would give us the best chances to go ahead and attack this pair would be previous structure support. That should now act as resistance on this side for a continuation to the downside. So not necessarily trading the retracement from the daily time frame back up next week. I would like to see the market actually reach this area, and then from there I could make a decision whether the market's going to continue to the upside and put us in what could possibly be some bullish patterns where we do have some sort of level here, break to the downside. If we break back above that level, you don't want to see it break below the left shoulder and then continue to the upside. But either way, I want to wait for the market to go ahead and make it into this area of most recent structure broken. So let me clean this up a little bit. So that's what I got on USD CHF. Now, USD JPY on the monthly time frame, we spoke about it, that it is very, 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 very bullish. We've been just breaking and creating structure all the way to the upside very aggressively from a monthly standpoint as well. Even if we zoom out, you can see that we did break above some structure. If we could go higher on an annual chart, we could possibly see just a nice and easy retracement, maybe a little consolidation. And then we have the explosion to the upside just to go ahead and complete the most common pattern in the market. And after an impulse, what are you expecting? Some sort of retracement. Where would the retracement most likely go to? Could be previous structure resistance and now turn support, but that is on the monthly. Could take a while for that to develop. From the monthly, all we need to gather is that we are very aggressively pushing to the downside. On the weekly, last time we spoke about it, we wanted to see the market break out of some of these levels and then possibly come retest what? Previous structure resistance, broken to the upside, now turn support in this area, just following the market trend. But these areas of previous structure broken, could possibly provide us with some areas to go ahead and look to attack the market. Now, if we drop down to the daily time frame, on the daily time frame, you can see very aggressively broken to the downside. There was really no way for us to attack this pair. Did break and close, but not aggressive enough for me to actually look for this retracement back into this area for the continuation to the downside. But if I look at it just simply from a daily time frame perspective, I see this area here broke above it, and we came back, broke back down. We could see a possible retracement to go ahead and complete a pattern that completes 80 to 90% of the time. So we've had the move to the upside slightly, move to the downside, move to the upside, and move to the downside. Previous structure broken to the downside would be the most logical place for it to come and retest, which could act as a magnet towards the price. Now, the retracement, I'm not really looking aggressively to trade. Just because the move to the downside, this bearish move over the last couple of days is very, very aggressive. We've really covered some ground over the last couple of days. So I would like to see the market come into this area before I make a decision on what I would like to do with it. So there are a few pairs that are showing something very clear and simple to go ahead and attack. And then there are some pairs just from the major standpoint that are just, not really good to go ahead and look to trade those pairs yet until you get a clear direction on what the market wants to do. Now let's go over Bitcoin. We'll wrap it up real quick. On Bitcoin, we have previous structure, resistance, now turn support over here. We did have a few times that the market used this as support, but since this is a very, very strong level, which was around that 18,000 level, now broken to the downside, especially if it does with this monthly candle close like this in about 19 days, we could possibly see more continuation to the downside before we actually get that move to the upside that everyone is expecting. If we drop down to the weekly time frame, on the weekly, you can see that we were pushing to the downside and been pushing to the downside on the weekly. Last time we spoke about it, it would be nice to see if the market will close below some of this previous structure support right in this area. And if it does so, that could be a possible area the market may come back to for a retest of previous structure support, now turn resistance for a continuation to the downside. You just got to trade these pairs with what they're giving you and what you're seeing on the chart. You're not trying to guess and be the first one in to go ahead and capture the best price for the move to the upside. You want to trade everything logically. If it's showing you that we're breaking lower lows and creating lower highs, you need to trade that way. Trade with the trend. The trend is your friend. I know it's cliche, but a lot of traders try to catch what's called a falling dagger, or they try to go ahead and catch breakouts or look for moves that just really aren't there, kick themselves, and then obviously they look back and say, this was so easy to see and notice. Why did I do this? But if we look at Bitcoin from a daily time frame perspective, you can see we were very aggressively moving to the downside, and we did get the retracement. Who knows what will happen over the next couple days. Over the weekend, we could possibly see a little bit of consolidation in this area. Even though we did have the retracement, it didn't come all the way back to retest this area, sit in this area, create a few candles, tap in, get rejected, move to the downside, and start to fall off with a slow momentum change. But we did get some sort of retracement. Now, as this daily candle is here, we are kind of trapped in between these two areas. I would like to see some more candles either move up to the upside, create some structure that we could use on the way down as structure resistance to go ahead and move our stops to some of these areas and look for possible moves to the downside, just to complete the most common pattern in the market, which is, you should know by now, especially through this live stream, a break below structure, come back for a retest just to go ahead and continue trend. Where we're retesting previous structure broken. That could be possible plays on Bitcoin over the next couple days. If you want to trade on the weekends, if you're looking at Bitcoin, actively in Bitcoin, if you're looking to trade Bitcoin or holding Bitcoin, just If you're holding it, hold it, because you're holding it for a reason. And if you don't believe in the project anymore, then go ahead and get out. But as it is right now, it's just simply doing what the market does, following structure, following normal market conditions. This is expected to be a cold winter in the crypto market, which just simply means not much movement, not very aggressive moves, moving to either direction, just kind of consolidating in some sort of price. So we are breaking below this 18,000 level that was holding price for a while. It's been a very, very strong level, and since it was a strong level to the upside, now coming from underneath it to retest it, it should act as a strong level once again. So simply put, just a move back into some of these areas. If it does set up with a TMCP1, there could be possible TMCP2 moves on this to the downside if it does come into some of these prime areas and give us exactly what we want to see from our strategy standpoint. Now that is pretty much it. Anybody got any pairs they want me to actually analyze, go over? Anybody got any pairs they want me to look at to give them possible directions on where they want to go? No. All right, well, I'll let y'all go. Let you get started on the weekend. And that's it. I don't see too much hopping in the chat. So that's pretty much it. We're going to wrap it up here. I hope everyone's had a profitable day as well as a profitable week on and off the charts. And until next time, I'll holla. Oh, shit, a car wreck. Hey, look outside. There just a literal car wreck just happened.